Fiji does not greet you with noise. It doesn't demand your attention or boast its wonders aloud. Instead, it waits, like a breeze you don't notice until it brushes your cheek. The islands stretch across the Pacific like scattered emeralds, small and luminous, held gently in the palm of the sea. It is not the color of the water or the curve of the palms that holds you at first. It is the quiet. A deep, old quiet that doesn't ask you to listen, but makes you want to. Welcome to a narrated discovery, a journey beyond the ordinary. Here, we walk slowly, speak softly, and observe the world not as tourists, but as those who are willing to feel. If you find peace in silence and meaning in stillness, you are exactly where you need to be. Now, breathe in. The journey begins. On the edge of dawn, the horizon over Fiji barely stirs. Light seeps into the sky like dye in water, soft, gradual, almost shy. In the village of Navala, time hasn't rushed in generations. Thatched buries sit like sleeping giants beneath the dim light, their rooftops still glistening with the memory of night. A rooster crows once, not to start the day, but to acknowledge it. Life here doesn't begin. It continues. The morning smells of wet grass, distant salt, and firewood smoke curling out from hearths. A woman kneels by the river, washing clothes with slow, practiced rhythm. Her hands are strong and unhurried. Across the footbridge, children carry water in worn plastic containers, their bare feet tapping out rhythms older than song. Everything moves with purpose, yet nothing rushes. In Fiji, even motion rests. A thin mist rises from the valley, not enough to hide the landscape, just enough to soften its edges. You see outlines more than shapes. Feel warmth more than heat. A dog barks once, then falls silent. Birds call, not in chorus, but in conversation. There's no need to fill the silence. Here, silence is full. The river reflects a sky not yet awake, carrying it downstream like a lullaby. You find yourself slowing. Your breath, your thoughts, the pace of your gaze. Fiji doesn't ask you to arrive. It asks you to unfold. The journey drifts toward the coast, where the land gives way to ocean not with a line, but with a breath. The sand is not white, it is pale gold, warm and giving beneath your feet. It holds the memory of sun and time, smoothed by waves that arrive not to conquer, but to greet. Coconut palms lean gently forward, as if drawn by some quiet invitation from the sea. You sit without meaning to. The air is thick with salt and silence. A small crab scuttles near your foot, pauses, then vanishes into a hole no bigger than a coin. This is not the kind of beach where people pose or music blares. It is a place for footprints that vanish in seconds, for watching the tide without counting minutes. There are no reminders here, only presence. Fishermen return in narrow boats, their faces calm, their movements practiced. They speak little, laugh lightly, and clean their nets with the same grace they cast them. One tosses a fish to a waiting heron, who accepts without flapping or fuss, a shared understanding passed in silence. Somewhere inland, the gentle beat of a lolly drum echoes across the trees. Not loud, just steady, like a heart reminding you it is still there. In a small open-air kitchen, cassava steams in woven baskets, its earthy scent rising like a memory of nourishment. Breadfruit roasts slowly beside glowing coals, tended not by timers but by knowing hands. There is no recipe, no measurement, just care. Nearby, a group of children dances barefoot in the dust, their hands tracing patterns in the air. There is no stage, no audience, only joy. You watch as the sun shifts higher, casting long shadows from the palms, illuminating the lines etched into tree trunks, into footprints, into faces. Time does not pass here. It deepens. Even the sea seems to slow, its waves folding over one another like whispered thoughts. And you, sitting in the shade, realize something. This island is not teaching you anything new. It is reminding you of what you already knew and forgot. Farther inland, the jungle thickens, not with chaos, but with design too intricate to decipher. Trees stretch like cathedral columns, their canopies stitching the sky into a quilt of filtered light. Ferns unfurl beside moss-darkened rocks, while vines loop between trunks as if remembering an ancient path. The air changes here, cooler, deeper, carried by the scent of guava, damp bark, and something floral you can't name but instantly trust. There's a trail, barely, a narrow bend through undergrowth that yields just enough to let you pass. You brush against it gently, disturb nothing. A butterfly lands on a branch nearby. Its wings don't flutter, they pulse. Even the insects here seem to move as if mindful of silence. You pass beneath a tangle of banyan roots, some suspended mid-air like ropes made of breath. Their shapes are stories, the kind that don't need words. A small waterfall reveals itself around a bend, tucked behind hanging leaves, as if it prefers to remain unknown. The water trickles, not tumbles, spilling into a rock pool so clear it seems hollow. A single leaf drifts across its surface, its shadow sharper than the leaf itself. You sit by the pool, and the world narrows, not in focus, but in presence. No screens, no plans. Only the music of droplets on stone and the slight movement of your own breath. You've forgotten the last time you were this still. The jungle remembers. Somewhere above, a parrot calls once, then quiet. The forest doesn't echo. It absorbs. This is not a place that performs. It simply is, and that, you realize, is enough. You close your eyes. The warmth of the earth seeps through you. You are not separate from this place. You are not visiting. You are returning. The road curves southward, tracing the island's edge, where cliffs rise like broken walls above the sea. The wind here is stronger, but not unkind. It carries with it stories of storms that passed and waves that spoke in thunder, but left peace behind. Below, the ocean stretches vast and deep, changing from turquoise to ink with the angle of the sun. Along a jagged outcrop, you find an old watch point, just a stone ledge overhanging the reef. No signs, no fences, just space. A place where the only sound is the tide folding over rock, and your own breath adjusting to match it. The view is endless. Not because the horizon is far, but because it feels open, weightless. Behind you, hills roll in gentle green waves, dotted with wild hibiscus and tall sugarcane. A dirt path winds between them, leading to a single village caught in the late afternoon light. Smoke rises from a cooking fire. Children's voices float upward, then scatter like birds in the breeze. Life happens here, not behind windows, but beneath sky. As you walk, the light softens. A golden hue slips across leaves and rooftops. A woman sits outside her home, weaving mats from pandanus leaves. Each fold precise, each motion patient. She hums, not a song, just a tone that feels older than music. You nod. She smiles. Nothing more is needed. Farther on, a man tends to a grove of kava plants, his hands dusted in soil. He pauses, meets your gaze, then returns to work. In Fiji, connection doesn't require conversation. It exists in presence, in witnessing, in stillness shared. The sun begins to set behind the hills, casting long shadows that seem to reach not just across the land, but into memory. This is not the kind of place you take photos of to remember later. It is the kind of place that remembers you. Evening comes without announcement. There is no rush, no sudden dimming, only a gentle cooling of color, a shift in the texture of air. Shadows stretch, then melt. The sky becomes a canvas of layered pastels, lavender, coral, soft gold, reflected in puddles, in windows, in eyes. The village slows, but it does not stop. The pace simply lowers its voice. In an open clearing, a group gathers around a wooden table, seated on woven mats. A bowl of kava rests in the center, carved from a single piece of hardwood, worn smooth by generations of hands. The drink is passed from one to another in a shared silence, each sip a gesture of respect. There is no toast, no clinking, only stillness and gratitude. A fire crackles gently nearby. The scent of grilled reef fish mingles with that of breadfruit roasting in banana leaves. Someone tells a story, not loudly, not quickly, but with the rhythm of tide and memory. Laughter rises, not to dominate the night, but to join it. It fades just as easily as it came. Above, the stars begin to arrive, not as a curtain drop, but one by one, quietly taking their places. There are more of them here than you remember from home, or perhaps they've always been this many. You just hadn't looked with still eyes before. A soft breeze passes through the trees, stirring the edges of the night. Leaves rustle like whispers. Somewhere, a guitar hums a familiar chord, then waits. In that pause, you realize something deep and wordless. This is not a performance. It is a way of being. And as you lie back on the mat, sky above, earth below, you do not think. You do not try. You just listen. Night in Fiji doesn't fall, it rises. It blooms outward from the shadows, filling the spaces between the trees, between voices, between thoughts. The air becomes thicker, but not heavy, like a warm blanket pulled gently across the world. Insects begin their nightly hymn, not in discord but in rhythm, 1,000 tiny notes layered like breath on breath. You walk the narrow path away from the village, lantern in hand, though it is barely needed. The moon is nearly full, casting a light so soft it seems to come from within things rather than above them. The path glows in silver outlines, tree trunks wear halos. Even your footsteps sound different, muted, respectful. At the edge of a meadow, fireflies dance, not in chaos but in choreography. Their pulses rise and fall, echoing the breath of the forest. You pause, still as stone, and they draw closer, curious, welcoming, unafraid. One lands on your sleeve. It does not stay long. Nothing here clings, everything visits. A shallow stream murmurs nearby, catching the moonlight like liquid glass. Frogs sing along its edge, their voices blending with the rustle of tall grasses. There is no single sound that defines the night. It is the way they all exist together, nothing needing to be louder than the rest. You lie down in the grass, letting the lantern go dark. Overhead, constellations you've never seen draw maps you cannot name, and for the first time, you feel no urge to understand. You don't need to own the sky or label the stars. It is enough to be beneath them. In this darkness, there is no fear, no loneliness, only space, and the quiet knowing that, even unseen, you belong. With morning, the world returns, but not abruptly. Dawn comes like a held breath released. The sky blushes before it brightens. Birds stir softly. Light seeps through the leaves, not to dazzle, but to remind. It warms the edges of rooftops, kisses the grass, glints on dewdrops as if tracing every sleeping detail back into wakefulness. In a small garden beside a sleeping boer, a woman tends to taro plants. She doesn't speak, doesn't glance up, but you know she sees you. Her presence is acknowledgement enough. The rhythm of her movements, the bend of her knees, the way she presses the soil, all of it speaks in the language of care. This is not a chore, it is devotion. Farther down the trail, a boy and his grandfather repair a fishing net. The boy listens more with his eyes than his ears. The grandfather does not hurry. His hands, though wrinkled, move with youth, steady, practiced, alive. Behind them the sea waits, not impatient, not expectant, just present. You walk on. The air carries new smells now. Fresh pandan leaves, damp sand, roasted coconut. A rooster crows, not to wake, but to join. A dog barks once, then lies back down. Everything returns, not in haste, but in harmony. At a bend in the road, the ocean appears again, calm, vast, familiar. You stop, watch. The waves arrive like thoughts, gentle, passing, each different, each the same. In that moment, you are neither visitor nor witness. You are simply here, and in being here, you feel something shift. Not dramatically, but certainly. A settling, a remembering. Not of something you forgot, but of something you didn't know you knew. You smile, not because of joy, not because of beauty, but because everything, for a moment, is enough. The final stretch of the journey leads to the islands less touched, where paths give way to canoes and silence stretches wider than sea. A small boat waits by the shore, its wood faded by sun and salt. You step in without words. The guide nods once, no need for instructions. The sea will do the rest. The boat glides over water so clear it seems air turned liquid. Coral reefs drift below like floating cities, alive, intricate, undisturbed. Schools of fish shimmer through the depths, their colors not screaming but glowing. Everything beneath you moves with grace. Even the ocean floor seems to breathe. Ahead, a speck of land grows larger, an outer island ringed with white sand, crowned with palms. There are no buildings, no roads, just trees and tide and time. You disembark into ankle-deep water. It is warm, cradling. Soft sand yields beneath each step. The breeze tastes of salt and bloom. You wander the shoreline, collecting nothing, just noticing. Shells lie where they fell. Driftwood rests like sculpture. A crab emerges, pauses, then continues its invisible purpose. You follow no trail. You follow stillness. Inland, beneath the copse of tall palms, you sit. No need to speak, no one to impress. The island wraps around you like a breath held just long enough. You close your eyes. The wind brushes past like a song you remember but cannot name. And in that moment, you understand. Fiji isn't a place you see. It is a rhythm you feel, a silence that speaks, a presence that waits. And as the sun begins its slow descent once more, casting gold upon gold, you don't feel the end. You feel the return.